ka na? Ayos ka lang ba? Happy ka ba? O sad pa rin ba? Kaya't halika na, sumama ka na selfie na, groupie na at iba pa. Bata matanda, byuda at byuda, may asawa man o kaya'y wala. Sama-sama tayo'y maglakbay, dito ka na, di ka na mag-iisa. Bebop, bebop na tayo, bebop, bebop na. Let us be hip and let us up, tara sa munting tahanan, tahanan ni Kristo.
Now, if we're going to look at Amoris Laetitia number 86, it is an introductory paragraph that falls under chapter 3 about the vocation of a family. Kumbaga, nasaan ang pamilya, what is really the call of the family in our time. And in this introductory paragraph of Amoris Laetitia number 86, it wished to emphasize, first of all, that the couples are really invited by God and by the church and by society to really live up to the vocation that they have been called to. Lalo-lalo na to live up to the wonderful ends of marriage and the properties of marriage, which is fidelity and the indissolubility. And of course, yung fruitfulness of the married life. Now, what I would like to reflect upon in this paragraph is about the vocation of these couples in the family. Because just like in the church, we have different vocations. Meron tayong na mga nagpapare, may mga nagmamadre, may mga nasi-single blessed. So each and every one has a vocation. And if we look at this vocation, it is always rooted in our own baptismal vocation. So from the moment wherein we were called to become children of God, all of us shared in this vocation in what we call the common priesthood. And in the common priesthood, we share or we are configured in the life of Christ. We are invited to live like Christ, who is a priest, a prophet, and a king. For those who are women, siguro there could be the priestess, the prophetess, and the queens of this world. So that is the basis of this vocation to family life, even to priestly life, and even to religious life. And if we have the common priesthood, we know very well that it is further exemplified in the vocations that God is calling us into. Kaya nga we have in the church what we call the ministerial priesthood, wherein the people who are called to become priests and bishops, they become the heads and the shepherds of the Christian community. And the church recognizes that they belong to the clergy and to the hierarchy of the church. And their vocation is what we call the ministerial priesthood. But it is based on the common priesthood. And I believe that also in my reflection, we don't just have the ministerial priesthood, just as we have the common priesthood. Pero I believe there's another type of priesthood which those people who are called for married life also assume upon themselves. And I personally call it the matrimonial priesthood. It is not a defined dogma. Sa turo lang yan ni Father Chris. What we call the matrimonial priesthood. And I hope I'm not very heretical about it kasi I'm also basing this matrimonial priesthood from the basis of vocation there. Kasi first of all, the basis of our matrimonial priesthood, yung mga mag-asawa, is first of all, you are called among human beings. Just like any one of us. Tao pa rin tayo. We were born by our biological parents. We were born in our biological families. And then later on, the Lord calls us to be born in the spiritual family. that is in the church through our baptism. So that is the first, kumbaga, that we have to recognize, no, that we as a couple, kayo, husband and wife, that we have to recognize na tao pa rin kayo. Not because mag-asawa kayo, para bang you forget that you are human beings. Just as we always say, yung mga nagpapare, yung mga nagiging obispo, tao pa rin kayo. Kumbaga, dapat tumapak pa rin kayo sa lupa. Kumbaga, you have to be grounded still to the lives and experiences of human beings sapagkat you have to experience still what it means to be human. And being human means that we have also to experience, for example, the physicality of our life. Kaya nga even St. John Paul II would always emphasize in his theology of the body, the sacredness of the body, that we have not to disregard the body, na hindi porket pari na tayo, obispo, or kasal na tayo, talagang we forget about our own bodies because we were called primarily as human beings. So you have to take care kasi nagkakasakit pa rin tayo, tumatanda pa rin tayo. We have to nurture ourselves also intellectually. We have to nurture ourselves also psychologically, emotionally. So lahat yan, we have to also feed ourselves because we're still human beings. And if we don't feed the human aspect of our lives, baliwala itong service natin in the vocation. And at the same time, looking at the human reality of our life, we know that we also have our own human weaknesses. Nagkakasala pa rin tayo. And sometimes we commit also wrong decisions and we have wrong, sabihin natin, wrong moves, or we go sometimes to wrong places and so on. We say wrong words. And that is part of being human. And being human then, as such, then we have to learn also how to settle it through forgiveness, through affection, through appreciation, through gratitude. Sapagkat all of us were called as human beings. We were not called as angels. We were not called as saints agad-agad. Kaya nga our holiness, our sanctity would always be rooted in our humanity. However, not only that we are only in the human side of our vocation, by the word itself, vocation, all of us kasi are called from our baptismal vocation. Yun na nga, the couples were called, no, to a life of holiness, and we know very well that this call started off, no, in our sacrament of baptism. Because in baptism, we were not just called to become members of God's family, we were not just called to become kumbaga, children of God, and we were forgiven of our sins. Pero more than that, we did not only receive a gift, we also receive a mission. Kaya nga as we grow older, we also receive the other sacraments of initiation, confirmation, Eucharist. No, bakit? Kasi as people who are called, no, initially in baptism, we are also called for a greater mission. We are told to grow in our Christian faith. Kasi we cannot remain forever children lang. Pero we have to also mature in our faith. Kaya nga we have the other sacraments of initiation, confirmation, Eucharist. Kaya nga later on, no, as a requirement for marriage and for those who are being called for the holy orders, na before you take the other sacraments of marriage, for example, the holy orders, ang requirement ngayon liturgically, pastorally, is that you are fully initiated. Kailangan binyagan ka, kumpilan ka, at nakakapagkomunyon ka. Even though canonically speaking, the only requirement is baptism, pero pastorally speaking, liturgically speaking, we also require confirmation. Kasi it's a sign of maturity and growth. Kasi nga, we are all called, no, initially, no, through this sacrament of baptism. And of course, for the couple, the formal calling of yours would be formalized in the celebration of the sacrament of marriage. Because the formalization of your vocation, your yes to God, to really commit to His mission, is really when you already say your I do and your yes in the sacrament of marriage. Kasi you don't go into marriage or family life kasi ginusto lang ninyo. Always keep in mind, there's the will of God, and it is God who has chosen that wonderful partner of yours. Siya ang pumili sa husband mo. Siya ang pumili sa wife mo. Kaya kung titignan mo ang husband at wife mo, huwag mo na i-question. Bakit siya? So, katulad kami mga pare, we don't ask anymore the Lord, bakit ako? Bakit hindi siya? Kasi baka palitan pa ng Diyos yun. The call is now formalized and you answer it in your sacrament of marriage just as we answer it in the sacrament of holy orders. Pero what is the purpose now of this vocation? Now that you have formally said your yes. So the purpose of this priesthood, just like in the ordinary function of a priest, the priest is the one who offers the sacrifice for his people. And he offers the sacrifice as a bridge between God and his people. Even in the olden times, alam din natin, the priests of the Old Testament, they would accept the sacrifices of the people, yung mga blood offerings, yung mga baka, mga tupa, mga ibon, and he would cut it into two. And then he would sprinkle the blood on the people, on the altar, symbolizing that he would intermediate among the people and to offer sacrifices for their sins and that God would be pleasing. So similarly also to the couple. Kumbaga, your life is also now a mission of sacrifice, similarly to the Lord. That's why preferably whenever we celebrate the sacrament of marriage, we always celebrate it in the context or within the celebration of the Eucharist in the Mass. Though we could also celebrate marriage without the Mass, pero preferably and often, we always celebrate it with the Mass. Kasi the Mass would always be a reminder for the couple and for all of us that the fullness of our conjugal life as priest would be found in the example of the Eucharist. Just as the Lord offered himself on the altar of the sacrifice of Calvary and so on for the life of other people, the couple, upon processing from the entrance of the church towards the altar, tapos sabay silang aakyat sa altar, it's their way of saying, handa kami also to go up to the Calvary of our lives. And of course, it doesn't mean na talagang ang lungkot-lungkot naman ng marriage, para bang puro sakripisyo na lang ba ito. Pero hindi po ibig sabihin lang yon. It also means kasi it is our way of showing our love for each other as husband and wife and as our love also for the Lord. Kasi yung sacrifice na yan would always entail, first of all, our acceptance of each other as a true friend, as a true partner, sa hirap at ginhawa, in sickness and in health, for richer and for poorer, until the end, kumbaga siya ang mamahalin ko. And that is the sacrifice that we want to offer. Kasi the sacrifice is because I want my partner, I want my people to be saved. I want my family to be holy. I want my family to be sacred. And that is the role of the priest. Katulad kami, mga nagpapare, also in the priests of the Old Testament, because they want their people to be close to God, they want their people always to be saved by God. Kaya nga, the parents, the husband and the wife, their mission is really to offer that sacrifice for the salvation of their families, for the salvation of their partner. Kaya nga, they will offer everything, their time, their talent, their treasure, everything, para maligtas ko lang ang asawa ko, ang husband ko, ang wife ko, ang mga anak ko, primarily. And of course, later on, sasama na rin dyan the other families under our care. So that is the moment of sacrifice. Kaya nga, just as in the Eucharist, we pronounce the centrality of our celebration during the consecration. When we hear the words, "This is my body, this is my blood," ganun din ang husband and wife. They will always say to each other, "This is my body, this is my blood," saying na my life is always for you. Kaya there's an aspect of is being exclusive talaga. Para bang it's for the people na mahal ko talaga. At sila lang ang mamahalin ko sa aking buhay. And that's the sacrifice. At the same time, ano nangyayari? In the Eucharist, there's always the aspect of communion. So you live up your fidelity and your fruitfulness in the family through a life of communion. Nakatulad din sa misa, all of us also are sinners, all of us are weak people, pero through the blood and the sacrifices of each one, para bang pinapagsantabi na natin yun. Kumbaga, we always look forward that these people have souls to be saved. These people are also children of God and trusted to our care. Kaya nga, the fourth aspect of this vocation is that it helps us reach the goal. Why we are getting married, just as we people who also get ordained. Why are we ordained priests? Kasi nga, primarily, first of all, the place of our work is always within the context of the church. Sapagkat, remember, you became a couple because of the sacrament of the church. It is the church who instituted you as a family, as a covenant. Kaya nga the first place of your work is always in the context of the church. Kaya nga we always call our families also the domestic church. Pag sinabi domestic, local church. Kaya nga, just as we have the hierarchy in the church, we have the priest, the parish priest, the bishop who heads the diocese or the parish, kayo rin in the families, ang bishops ninyo, ang priest ninyo, quote-unquote, is the husband and the wife. Depende na mag-usap na lang kayo kung sino ang Santo Papa sa inyo, o ang Santo Mama, kung sino ang pinakamataas sa inyo. Pero otherwise, as husband and wife, you are the heads of your communities. And your children are your parishioners, quote-unquote. These are the
Wow.
people whom you take care of. And just as in the parish, we have also have our ministries, no, may education ministry, worship ministry, social service ministry, temporalities, youth, and so on. So, ganun din po in the family. First of all, you have your worship ministry. So, how is your life of worship as a family? Do you bring your children, do you bring yourself close to God, just as Joseph and Mary talagang brought up Jesus to become a devout Jew? Nagpupunta sila sa temple, they go for their traditional services. So kayo rin, do you go for your traditional services, yung mga Sunday celebrations, mga devotions ninyo, rosaries, and so on, and that is part of your worship ministry mission, no, in the family. Do you teach them basic prayers? Kagabi lang, for example, there was a mother, kakilala ko sila, no, in the province, at nakakatuwa kasi yung mother, teacher, tapos yung anak niya is 3 years old na babae. And nabigla yung nanay because after doing her chores, nakita niya yung mga textbook niya, yung ginagamit sa school, puro drawing. Yung gawingan ng anak niya na babae. Innocently. Hindi siya nagalit. Kasi very innocent naman eh. Pero nakita niya yung mga drawing at tinanong niya, who is this? Sino yung drawing mo? At ang sagot niya, this is Jesus. Drawing niya si Jesus, nakapako sa cross, tapos may mga sundalo sa ilalim. 3 years old yun ha. Bakit? Kasi yung kuminsan na pinapanood ng anak niya, yung Superbook, no, sa mga cartoons. Kaya yun ang ano niya, yun ang nakikita niya. So somehow, even though the child doesn't know how to pray yet formally, pero she has a concept already, sino itong Jesus na to? No, na namatay sa cross. So parang ganon. So also yun, the worship ministry is also there. Education ministry. And that is part of the goal of a married couple na yung sinasabag na yung rearing of your children. Makakatapos pa yung mga anak nyo. Kasi there are a lot of families whom we know, anak ng anak, hindi mo kayang alagaan at pag-aralin. No, they don't even find ways and means, makakuha ng scholarship and so on, o humingi ng tulong para bang okay lang maging bum ng anak nila. And that is a failure in the educational ministry of the family. I myself personally, sabi ko nga, I have mentioned that already before, na talagang ito isa sa mga himalangan ng parents ko. Kasi we were 12 in the family, 12 children kami, at napagtapos nila kami lahat. Lahat kami, graduate kami lahat ng college. No, at sabi nga ng parents ko, yan daw ang one of the greatest miracles that they have habang nabubuhay sila. No, para bang at the end, sayang yung mga resources ninyo. Instead na ikinakain nyo o pambayad ng mga pabahay or what, so nasasayang yung temporary, o kaya you make other projects na hindi naman kailangan. Sabi yung youth experience natin, how do you take care of your children? Do they have time also to mingle with other young people? May mga kalaro ba sila? O nagiging makasarili lang sila, no, in their life? And other things. And at the same time, may mga vocational ministry din. So do you promote also vocation in your families? Do you also invite your children? No, baka gusto mo mag-pare, baka gusto mo mag-padre. Kasi the vocation also starts at home. Kayo rin ang first catechists, kayo rin ang first vocation promoters sa simbahan natin. And all of this, you're doing it not for your family alone, but for the service of the church and for the service of other families. Katulad nga ng ginagawa ninyo ngayon, you're part of this PPAP, no, the Parish Pastoral Company program. So this is also your way of reaching out also to other families. Kasi nga, ang vocation natin is not just tama nang nag-asawa kami, tama nang nagkaanak kami, at thank you na lang. Hindi. You are all called to a bigger family, the church who called you to this married life, and also even society is also inviting you to evangelize society, to bring and share with them the goodness of God. So that, I believe, is what we call the matrimonial priesthood. Just as there is the hierarchical priesthood in the church, we don't just look up to the authority, pero kayo rin. The husband and wife, you are also priests and priestesses in your own matrimonial vocation, and you have to live up by it. You are called as human beings, you are called by God for a particular mission. Your mission is to offer sacrifices, sanctification of the people, and of course, your mission is for your family and for the other families around. So with that, we also thank our Blessed Mother, Saint Joseph, and Jesus, for giving us also that wonderful example of what it means to be a holy family. Hindi lang sa kanila, hindi lang kami-kami, tayo-tayo, pero we know very well that the Holy Family extends their help and their support even up to now to our families and to our society. Thank you very much, Ford, for this wonderful opportunity to be able to share with you. And I wish to encourage all the families na through the intercession of Saint Joseph, our Blessed Mother Mary, Help of Christians, and our Lord Jesus, sana the Lord may continually bless us, protect us, and keep us always healthy and happy amidst the challenges that we face. And we always remember, hindi tayo nag-iisa. There's always the family with us and other families who are ready to extend themselves to keep us always sane, happy, and holy. God bless you all po.
So, we're back. Nakakatuwa kasi na-realize natin na ang pag-aasawa para ring pagpapare. Di ba? Kasi it's a vocation. Di ba? Ang bokasyon kasi talaga, pagka tinanggap mo ng bukal sa kalooban mo, yung grasya kasama doon. At doon na magsisimula ang misyon natin.
Okay.
Di ba?
So, kung mission siya,
Mm-mm.
ibig sabihin talagang merong grace na ibinibigay sa atin when we embrace our mission. Ang problema kasi, pagka yung mga mag-asawa, tinanggap nila yung mission, but they are not ready na yakapin yung grace na ibinibigay ng Panginoon
Oo.
sa kanila.
Kasi alam mo, napapansin ko talaga sa atin noon. Ito kasi talagang, ito yung mga nangyayari. Parang very ordinary na lang na lumaki ka na, ba't wala ka pang asawa? Yung hindi pinag-isipan, basta may nataypan lang, nag-asawa, kaya parang very natural lang na, hindi ka pa nag-asawa, parang kasama na kaduktong agad yung gano'n, di ba?
Yeah.
Actually, importante yung pinag-iisipan, pinagdarasal, dinidiscern. Hindi lang basta-basta yun ang makapag-asawa lang, tapos na. No? Kasi ngayon, na-realize natin na meron pala yung mission. Ang galing talaga ni Lord kasi yung pagka-create niya sa atin, binigyan tayo ng mission. Ba tayo may mission? Kasi syempre yung gusto natin makapunta sa langit Yun yung end talaga nun
Yeah.
diba? So, lahat tayo may mission. So, kung anong mapuntahan nating state of life, diba? May mission tungkol doon.
Kaya nga natin create yung P-POP and now kapihan sa simbahan. Because this is where we try to experience the joy of the family. Na talagang yan is a gift from God. So, it is a journey. Hindi yan yung pagkatapos ikasal, okay na kayo. Hindi ba? So, sabi nga nung yung isang inattenda natin nung launching nung pre-K na book ni Father Rene Lagaya, sabi ng MC, ang buhay namin mag-asawa para talagang roller coaster. So, ibig sabihin, una, pag punta mo pa lang doon, medyo may konting kaba. No? Pagkatapos, pagka nakasakay ka na, kabado ka, mamaya pag tagal-tagal, nag-enjoy ka na. So, pagbaba mo sa roller coaster na yun, gusto mo ulit bumalik.
Ang saya pala.
Ang saya pala. Ganun yung
So,
family.
may excitement. May excitement habang nakasakay ka sa roller coaster o habang yung buhay may asawa.
Oo.
Di ba? Tignan mo na lang, yung magbubuntis ka, mahirap. Pero paglabas ng bata, tuwang-tuwa ka. Tapos mag-aaral yung bata, ang hirap. Tapos graduate yung bata, masaya ka. So, ganun, ups and downs. But, gusto nyo ba yun? Yung sikreto na kahit may downs ka, ang saya mo pa rin. Yan ang maganda. Diba? Ano ang sikreto? You have to accept, sabi nga ni Father, the mission. Nag-yes ka sa vow ninyo. Ibig sabihin, yes, Lord, damang-dama ko to, binigay mo sa akin tong mission na to, and I know you will be here with us, sa lahat ng mga pangyayari sa buhay namin. Kaya yung kaba o yung worry, konti lang, sandali lang. Tapos, wala na, parang dadaan ka na lang na parang normal, hindi ka magdodwell.
Masanay tayo na every time we have a challenge or struggles, we call on God grace. Yung grace niya sa atin, yan yung tinatawag na sanctifying grace. Hindi pala yan tuwing ikakasal lang binibigay. In fact, binigay na yan during our baptism.
Correct.
Ganun din naman yung sinasabi ni Pope Francis sa kasal eh. Hindi kayo naghahanda sa inyong vocation paglaki na ninyo.
Yeah.
Even from the younger days, inihahanda na kayo ng magulang ninyo para sa vocation na yan. If that will be your vocation at napagdasal, na-discern, sigurado magiging mahirap pero masaya.
Correct.
Yeah.
Diba? Kaya kaduktong talaga nun yung holiness. Kaya sabi, pag holy ka, healthy, happy ka, syempre pag happy ka, magiging healthy ka.
Yes.
Dahil yung unang-una, yung isip mo, yan yung nakakapagpa-weak sa atin eh. Nagkakasakit ka ng puso, anxiety, hindi ka magiging healthy.
Yeah.
So, maging happy ka dapat. Para maging happy ka, kailangan holy ka dahil nahuli ka na ni Lord. Magpahuli kayo kay Lord. Yan ang sikreto.
Ayan palang sacrament of matrimony. Ayan pala ang tinatawag nilang yung pagka tinanggap mo yung sacrament na yan, you are making a commitment to community. Kaya dalawa yan. Yung mga pare, yan yung sacrament of holy order. So they commit to the church.
Yes.
Tayo naman na nag-asawa, vocation of marriage, we commit to the domestic church.
Yes.
Yan.
So parehong church po yan.
Commitment pala yung dalawa na yan.
Yes.
Kaya yan yung mga sa vocation na talaga.
Kaya palang tawag sa iyo, Papa. Ako, Mama.
Ay, Mama Mary.
Mama Mary and Pope.
Yeah, in the
Papa.
image of our God. Yan.
Yes. So tapos yung mga anak, yung mga sabi nga ni Father, yung mga parishioners yan. Tapos may mga ministry din dyan, yung education, pag pinaaral mo sila. Kaya ang ganda talaga. So pagka kaya kinasal ka, may pamilya na kayo, yan ang nasa isip mo. Mission ito, tapos domestic church tayo. So how can you go wrong, na si God ang inaasahan mo? Things may be difficult, things may look bad, look lang. Pero kung nakaasa ka kay God, i-redirect ni Lord yan.
Yes.
Diba? Trust and belief lang talaga ang kailangan natin.
Okay.
So we'll see you again next week. Bye!